has your career in journalism changed over the years?
You picked the most unflattering angle, by the way, but that's all right. It's fine. How has my career in journalism changed over the years?
Changed over the years, yeah.
You know, I started as a one-man band, basically, like right out of college. I made a fake press pass. Actually, I had a friend make a fake press pass, and I borrowed a home video camera, and kind of like that camera, actually, a little bit bigger. And I just started going to wars by myself. So, you know, I did that for like 2 or 3 years, and I did a lot of really stupid stuff, and took a lot of really dumb risks. But I was very, very lucky, and so it's changed. I mean, from I used to be sleeping on the roofs of buildings in Somalia and watching Dan Rather and Christian Amanpour drive around with entourages and vehicles, and kind of dream about having a vehicle one day of my own and a story. So it's to suddenly be working for CNN and have the capabilities with CNN behind you, and to be able to go and cover the some of the biggest stories of our times. It's pretty cool.
Could you possibly recount one of those stories from your earlier years? Like anything specific you can pick up?
Yeah, I mean, I literally remember I worked a lot in Somalia in the early days. There was a famine in '92, '93, and it was one of the first big stories I ever told. And I was literally all by myself. I had a backpack full of like cashew nuts and videotapes and cash, and was there for a couple days telling stories, shooting stories. And I remember seeing I was sleeping on the roof of the airport in Mogadishu, waiting for the U.S. troops to land. And I remember watching Dan Rather doing live shots, and I remember he had like security and he had vehicles, and I just sort of it seemed so beyond anything I would ever have as a reporter, because I was all by myself. I was just kind of faking it, and so it was a few years later to be I now know Dan Rather, and when I go to a place I have vehicles, and so it's nice to kind of realize, okay, it's sort of paid off. You paid your dues, and you're able to go and cover these amazing stories.
Do you have any advice for your students in the future as they move into this world?
Advice for students? I'm not very good at giving advice, because I think I think people should follow their gut in terms of finding something they're really passionate about. My mom, when I was in college, in a sheer act of desperation because I didn't know what I wanted to do, I asked her about what she thought I should do, and her advice was follow your bliss, which at the time I thought was kind of esoteric and cheesy, but in retrospect, I think it's actually very good advice. I mean, it's hard to figure out what your bliss is and what it is that's really going to make you ignite your passion. But if you can figure that out and make a career out of it, I think that's the true road to success. I mean, it's the road to certainly to happiness, because if you love what you're doing, then it's not going to feel like work, and you're going to be more successful at it because you're going to be able to work harder than anyone else. And I guess that's the other piece of advice. I would just, no matter what field you're in, but particularly for journalism, I would just advise never underestimate the value of just out hustling everybody else, just working longer hours, showing up before everyone else does, and staying later than everyone else does. And it's the only reason I still, frankly, am employed by CNN. Early days there, I had a pretty rough time, and I was on the way out, and it was only by kind of working harder than other people that I was able to stick around.